I got it. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Let's Get Pairing. I had our mics turned off for a second there. I don't know what it looked like on the stream, but it didn't
Sometimes it's
look good
better
here.
that way.
Yeah, sometimes it's better that way. Maybe sometime we'll try a silent episode where you just don't have to hear us. Podcast folks may not enjoy that as much. Oh, yeah, they could see a big error message on the screen. All right.
We can mail them a braille version of the episode. I think it'll
Good idea. All right, here we go. I'm your host, Trip. Welcome back to Let's Get Pairings. This is episode 18, and we are smoking the Patina Oro de Nicaragua, which has a very interesting backstory to it. Not super in-depth or anything, but a very interesting little story going on with this one. So grab yourself a cigar, grab yourself a drink, and it's time to get paired. All right, and we're back. I'm your host, Trip, here with my co-host, Dennis. As always, I am broadcasting the coast with the most coast. The most with the ghost. I'm here in the Casa de Monte Cristo studios in sunny Florida. Dennis is on the porch of perjury.
This week it's the perjury porch. That's right.
Yeah. I think it was purgatory porch last time, right?
Purgatory was last time. Let's hope we don't get to that point again.
We'll see. Dennis, how are you doing this evening on your porch of purgatories?
Good, man.
Perjury?
It's it is nice and cool. So I'm happy. I'm not surrounded by flies and mosquitoes and wasps like last time. But I am, as always, I come prepared. Packing that heat, baby. Always got that thing on me.
Don't bring your thing unless you came to bang. Don't pull your thing. Sorry.
Was that a thing? People say that?
It's from an Outkast song. Don't pull your thing. Yeah. Anyway.
Interesting.
I'm trying to make sure we're live here because something weird is going on with Facebook and it's not showing me the little live logo thingy.
Maybe somebody's watching and can comment.
I mean, that's the thing is I'm not even seeing comments.
Oh, boy.
Save changes. Go live. Let's see if it works. No. Sorry, give me 1 minute. If you're watching this live, I apologize for the riveting content you're seeing right now, but I got to make sure this is working. But Facebook is, Facebook is being Facebook. As usual. We are not live. I don't think. We're live on Facebook. I mean on YouTube's. The YouTubes. But Facebook is showing me a go live button, but not letting me click go live. And it says going live at 8 p.m. It is past 8 p.m.
Oh, is that a time zone thing?
I don't know. Oh, I figured it out. It doesn't like that I don't have a title.
You mean it failed on input validation from a developer?
Yep.
My cyber folks would be
That's the way my week
now.
has been.
This is like one of the number one things that keeps popping up in conversation professionally is like, wait, you guys don't validate your what? Why? You don't encode stuff? Why is
All right,
that?
now we can go live. So if you're watching on YouTube, I apologize. I'll clip that part out. So we'll start right here. Welcome back to. All right, no, we'll start now. Welcome to Let's Get Pairing. This is episode. Man, it feels so weird to be redoing it. This is episode 18. I'm smoking the Patina Oro de Nicaragua. Also, I'm Trip. That's Dennis. Just getting caught back up here after 10 minutes of screwing around, not being live, but not realizing that we weren't live. All right, let's kick it back to the beginning. Welcome, everybody. This is Let's Get Pairing, episode 18. I almost got the number wrong, man, and I just said it 30 seconds ago. I've had a rough week, but I'm your host, Trip, here in the Casa de Monte Cristo studio. That's Dennis on the Purgatory Porch of Perjury.
Purgatory Porch of Perjury. Triple P, baby. Not the triple D, but the triple P. Exactly. Even stronger. Harder, better, faster.
Stronger, yes.
Coming at you live with a silenced
Oh,
lighter
look at
here.
that.
Unplugged, so I'm trying to unplug this thing, but it looks dangerous.
Well, while you try, we are going to roll the intro one more time. So everybody grab
Let's do
yourself a
it.
cigar, grab yourself a drink. Let's get pairing. Even the intro's giving me shit today. It didn't play the music, I don't think. Man, it's not my week. We'll get back to it in a little bit. Anyway, I'm your host Trip, Casa Monte Cristo. Smoking the Patina, drinking some stuff. I was gonna do non-alcoholic this week. Maybe I need the alcohol to calm my brain down a little bit. But I was gonna kind of do it along with Dennis. But Dennis, you decided to dip your toe back in the alcohol this week.
I'm gonna try. I'm trying to take it super easy, and let's hope that I don't regret that decision.
Good,
We'll
as
see.
you should. Hopefully people are enjoying the very manic energy I have this episode. Um, all right, let's get into the cigar a little bit. While you light it, try to fix that little plug you have. So the Oro de Nicaragua. This is from Patina Cigars. Patina is owned by a guy named Mo Mali. Um, he started as just a guy who loves cigars, decided he wanted to make his own brand, and has had enough success to keep the brand going, which is awesome. I really enjoy that guy. He's fantastic. He makes great cigars. I think he has ever since he first started making them. Originally, he was making them with Mombacho at their factory in Granada, Nicaragua. He has since pivoted away and has gone to a couple of different factories. This one is the first one he's done out of Naxa. So I mentioned in our, this is the thing only the YouTube people are going to get because it wasn't live on Facebook yet. But there's a very interesting backstory to this cigar. I don't know if you've looked into it, Dennis, but we'll get into it right here. So, the Oro de Nicaragua may sound familiar. It may not. It was my father's cigar that was very limited that was sold at Casa de Monte Cristo lounges in Chicago. Shout out Casa de Monte Cristo.
Yeah.
It was released in 2014. There was one production. Pretty much the entire blend was not disclosed. It was made by my father. And it was a very limited cigar. I don't recall the number, but I think it was like 5,000 cigars or something pretty small like that. But that was one of those Casa de Monte Cristos was actually Mo's home shop when it came out in 2014, and he kind of credits that cigar, my father Oro de Nicaragua, as being kind of one of the first few cigars that really got him into the boutique scene, and made him understand, what boutique cigars are all about. So, having been around for almost 10 years as a company, I'm trying to remember when Patina was founded, and I can't remember the year off the top of my head, but that's right. They're coming up. They're nearing 10 years, somewhere 6-8 years, somewhere in there. I think they started 2017.
That sounds about right.
But kind of looking back, Mo decided this was a cigar that meant a lot to him. I did it again. I clicked the intro button on accident. He wanted to make I'm telling you, this is not my weekend, dog. He wanted to make his own version of the Oro de Nicaragua. So he got in touch with the folks at the Casa de Monte Cristo, found out that they own the name. Initially, he kind of pitched it as, hey, let's do another release in the Oro de Nicaragua series, and I'll make it instead of my father, and it'll be kind of a cool, follow-up. I'm not sure if they weren't interested in that or if just the details weren't working out for everybody, but Mo negotiated the purchase of the name, and got their permission to release the cigars as Oro de Nicaragua. So he now owns that name. The blend on this guy, as I said before, the factory is Naxa, which, if you're not familiar with the name, they make they make a portion of Steve Saka's cigars. Most of the
A good
broadleaf
bit of them.
stuff comes out of there. the um, the Micaritas, the Umbagogs, stuff like that. The Sobre Mesa series comes out of Oro de Nicaragua, but that's kind of where Naxa is known, is really for their darker broadleafy kind of cigars. Um, thanks to Steve Saka. So this one though is Ecuador Habano Oscuro as the wrapper, Ecuadorian Sumatra as the binder, and then the filler is all Nicaraguan with some Connecticut broadleaf in there. Um, this is also notable. This is the most full-bodied cigar Patina's ever done. Um, Mo isn't exactly
Agreed.
a super full-bodied cigar guy, so this is actually kind of more of a medium than a super full-bodied cigar, but it's definitely stronger than the rest of the stuff that has had the Patina name on it. Um, and the price point on this is $13. This is a core line, so these are going to be available long term. And then just as a note, we're not smoking it tonight because we are smoking the 5x54 Robusto, but they got a Lancero. Mo's first Lancero is the Oro de Nicaragua, which I think is pretty sick. What do you think of the? What are you thinking of the cigar so far, Dennis?
I think it could work really well as a Lancero. It's man, it's real dusty,
Mm.
spicy dusty, real heavy black pepper spice. The drying dust. I just took a sip of my drink, and I think this is just the nature of the beast for a cigar like this with the profile that it has. Generally, it starts off a little bit dry, right?
Yeah,
On the dry side. I want to say it's very dense. Like the construction is rock solid. If I
it's a
threw
real
this at your
heavy
head,
cigar.
you would feel it.
Oh yeah,
I
you could
could
knock
launch this at
somebody
your
out.
head and you feel, yeah, man. So
Um,
I
Go ahead.
very nice, very pleasant surprise on the level of spice. I came into it not really thinking it'd be anywhere near this spicy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely spicy. It's definitely very rich. Um, I have a couple of pairings that I'm going to try out with this, but there's one that I'm excited for because to me, this cigar reminds me a little bit of a sherry aged whiskey. It's got a little bit of that like jammy, heavy sweetness that I really like. It reminds me a little bit also of the H99 from Liga Privada.
Yeah,
It just kind of has that like that rich, sweet, earthy core to me. But then you're right; it also has like that almost powdery spice, like very fine ground
yeah,
red pepper or something, maybe black pepper.
yeah. It definitely sticks on the palate too. Again, not saying it's a bad thing, but the retro hail is interesting for sure.
Man, there's something I can't put my finger on the retro hill. Like there's a lot of spice, but then there's like a specific flavor that I can't figure out what I'm
It's
tasting.
like the aftertaste of eating burnt ends or something charred,
Yeah, that's kind of what
like
it
the
is.
crust of a steak.
Yeah, because it's kind
I
of got
think
that
I don't know.
a sweetness to it too. And yes, I
Yeah,
think the crust of a steak is what I'm thinking of, where you're getting those. The steak is charring a little bit, but then you're also getting like caramelized sugars
yeah.
in there, so you get like that not bitter. It doesn't burn to the point where it's bitter, but it has that like crunchy sweetness. Yeah, that's exactly what it reminds me of. Good call.
60% of the time, I get it right every time.
Exactly. Um, and with
Yeah.
that, it's time to get into some pairing here. So we're gonna see how this pairs. And my first pairing, of course, my mom demanded that I have tequila tonight, but I don't really drink tequila. I have like a Jose
Oh,
Cuervo in there for making cocktails. So you know what I
it's
went with.
Cinco de Fivo. I forgot.
Yes, it is
God
Cinco
damn
de
it.
Fivo. I'm having a little bit of mezcal. This is mezcal sacrificio, which is
Oh boy.
not
What is
a
that?
well. I mean, it's real mezcal. It comes from a mezcal distillery that was founded in 2011. Um,
I feel like
and
it's bad when you have to disclaimer it,
yeah, exactly.
preface it.
They say that the distillery was conceived in 2011. I don't know if that means they started in 2011 or they started 2024, and they just had the idea for a few years first. Um,
Conceived,
and it
eh?
says they were
It's a
conceived
choice
with
word.
the mission of creating premium handcrafted mezcal. Uh, very very middle of the road description there.
This sounds like something that would really kill it at Coachella with that description.
It's just so like it's so right down the middle. Like, well, we wanted to put some liquor in a bottle, so we
Yeah,
started a liquor company. And now
great.
we're putting liquor in bottles. Yeah, it's a very weird. Like their whole description on their website is very strange. But anyway, this is their añejo. It is made with 50% maguey espadin and 50% barril. After being double distilled, the mezcal is aged for 1 year in half toast French oak barrels. Um,
Curious.
but the reason I'm prefacing this so much, and the reason I was kind of giving you the disclaimers, is because I didn't know it when I bought this, but this distillery is maybe not really a distillery. Uh, so it is part of Total Wines. I can't remember what they call it, Distillery Select or something like that. It's basically where Total Wine licenses names and does their own bottlings of who knows what and puts labels on them. Interestingly, some of those are name brand stuff and some of them are not. This one, as far as I can find, Total Wine's the only one that really sells it. If you find it anywhere else, it's because they bought it from Total Wine as a distributor. So
Interesting.
that's,
It seems odd.
yeah, and it's not bad. I've had it before. It's a pretty good mezcal, especially it being an añejo. This I haven't even taken a sip tonight, but I'm just going off of memory. This is a little closer to whiskey than most mezcals I've had. It's kind of it's to mezcal what Florida Caña is to rum, where like you've got enough of that whiskey influence that if you have a whiskey drinker who doesn't know
I
anything
see what
about
you mean.
mezcal and doesn't like mezcal or doesn't think they do, you can give them this and they'll be like, "Man, that's a very different tasting whiskey," and won't really peg it as not whiskey. Um, but I'm gonna take a couple sips and see how it tastes. I did forget to mention this is 45 ABV, so punching a little, just a little bit hotter than your normal off the shelf kind of stuff. Bottle of this runs about $50. But like I said, it's kind of an
Okay.
in-house brand for Total Wine.
Interesting. $50 for a mezcal. I guess you know what? I think with the market, the way the market's been the last couple of years, it certainly now the midpoint is around 45 to $50 for most mezcals.
Especially for an añejo. This is an añejo. Most
Yeah.
mezcals that you're going to get in that price range are probably going to be a what do they call it? A Joven?
Hoven, yeah. I think it's Hoven. I don't
Hoven,
remember.
probably.
It's
Joven?
Joven, Hoven.
Joven?
Joven.
Joven.
John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt
Jan
got some
Jacob.
mezcal. Yeah. Yeah.
Man,
um,
this energy.
here
Also,
we
I
are.
just want to point out,
Yes, thank
my
you.
hat may be larger than it has appeared in the past because I have this fancy vinyl patch. I've got a bunch more of them. If you really want one, you might be able to convince me to send you one. But for now, we're just using them to kind of uh, work on some clothing designs for our own before we get into any kind of production or anything like that. Anyway, Dennis, what's
Yeah,
your
we're
first pairing today?
pairing with a couple of French designers now on a
Yeah,
couture line, and stay posted for that.
called
It's
haute
coming.
pairings.
Haute pairings, of course. What you need clothing to wear while you pair. What do you pair and what do you wear? Think about that. Wear pair. Wear pair. Apparel.com. Anyway, I really pinched that one off hard. Uh what am I drinking? Great raft. All right, let's talk about this. Because I was in the green room, we're talking about this. I'm an idiot. I was reading this can, like, oh, that's cool. Where are they from? Great Raft Brewery. Shreveport, LA. Like, huh. Never heard of Shreveport, Los Angeles. And like, oh boy, it's Louisiana. And so this is from Shreveport, Louisiana. This is their Southern Drawl, which is cute.
Oh,
I like that. Look at that nice little can. Dry hopped Pilsner. Interesting that they say dry hopped because, well, I'll get into it in a second, but 30 IBU and, well, cameras are hard. 5%. Look at that.
not
So
too
these cats have
shabby.
been around in Louisiana. Wow, I can't even say it now. They've been around in Louisiana for quite a bit. 2013, they opened up, and my understanding is they've got a pretty decent sized space going, bunch of different beers. This beer I got in a like a beer of the month club, like a
Oh,
variety
nice.
box. So 12 beers, uh, right? 12 beers, yeah. And it's um a couple from, I think it's usually it's two breweries that are showcased. It's a couple beers from each. And it's kind of a cool way to experience some, some different breweries. Let me show you what it looks like. Let me talk about this because I got opinions. Now, Pilsners, why I say dry hop, it's funny. First of all, Pilsners, yes, classically are dry hop. They're the hoppier versions of lagers. Traditionally, talking about Pilsen in Czech Republic, what used to be called Bohemia. I know it very well from my time living there, and I drank a ton of stuff from Pilsen specifically, and also just the style Pilsner. Generally in Europe, you end up seeing it between 3 and 3.5 to like 5%. In the US, we end up seeing a lot of these Pilsners coming out at 5.5, 6%, even sometimes. And they'll add that label saying, hey, this is extra hopped or dry hopped or whatever. So really, it's not hopped more than a normal Pilsner would be. They put that there as a marketing thing
Yeah.
for the American palate. So I just wanted to leave that distinction there. But I thought, Pilsner is a good start, good, easy start, cutting through a little of that spice, and the dryness certainly helping a lot with that.
I think that might be a little light for this cigar so far. Not like I said, not that this is a super heavy cigar, but it's very full flavored. It has an intensity of flavor that reminds me of, like I said before, the H99. Um, has some very similar flavors to this cigar.
And it is, and you're right to your point. I think a classic Czech Pilsner would not stand up well to this cigar. But even the color, you look at it, it's not as crystal clear as you would see from a lot of European lagers, certainly Pilsners. But this is a lot sweeter. It's thicker. It's got a very classic American, to me, very American Pilsner flavor. Which most people will say, oh, well, it doesn't really matter. You can't tell. If you drink enough of them, I feel like you can.
Yeah, that's true. Um,
Maybe I'm just an asshole. I don't know. Both can be true.
uh, sorry, my wife commented and said, "Great SOP logo." It's LGP now. Thank you very much. LGBTQ. LGPPQ. There we go. We carry PPQs. I love it. All right, so this mezcal, man, like I said, I got this manic energy tonight because everything's been going wrong all week. Um, I want to point out this bottle. Like, look how nice that bottle looks. This may be a store brand, but at least they got a nice looking bottle with that like weird cloud looking Aztec design on it. Um, this is a little more intense on the mezcal side than I had recalled. So I had said this is like halfway in between a bourbon and a mezcal.
Oh,
It might be
yeah.
closer to 75% mezcal and 25% whiskey. Um,
Wow.
because it definitely has like you definitely get that little bit of like that sourness that you get. It reminds me a little bit of like a lime kind of sourness on mezcal, and then you get that intense mezcal smoke. But the finish is very whiskey like, or very bourbon like, where you've kind of got that sweetness from that toasted oak, um, and it. I'd be interested if they made a version of this that was like 2 or 3 years in wood, because it definitely still has some heat and intensity to it. Uh, it's a very aggressive drinking
Yeah.
sipper, I'll say.
Is it so? Is it drier on the finish from the mezcal, or is it closer to a sort of like a jammy bourbon where it sits on the
It
palate
reminds
after?
me more of like a jammy bourbon. It
Okay.
has that you get that kind of limey kind of sourness, but then you also get um, that almost hard candy stone fruit kind of
Okay.
sweetness that you get from
Yeah,
a bourbon.
man. That's awesome.
I really do think it's a very nice in between for a bourbon and a mezcal. How's the pilsner work with it with the cigar?
I think it's good. Surprisingly, I think the sweetness really stands out well. The American style Pilsner, I think, would stand up decently well to a pretty spicy cigar like this one. And certainly a cigar that has that profile where it's not particularly strong in that sense, but it has a fuller profile on the palate.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Sounds delicious. I'm gonna cleanse my palate here with little. Not a sponsor yet, but maybe someday. Liquid Death.
Tell you what, I
If
my
Dennis
my
gets
new
his way.
studio, our new studio is under renovation, and tell you what, I got a big old neon sign in there.
You know, I do. I've been drinking this Liquid Death sparkling water, and I have noticed something that no other sparkling water has. I don't know exactly what changes it. At first, I thought maybe they were adding sugar because this sparkling water has like a little bit of sweetness to it. And I think
Yes,
it may be that I don't know what process they're using, but somehow they're getting a lower acidity than you normally get because normally a sparkling water has like that super aggressive, that scrubbing bubbles texture on your tongue, you know? If you hold it in your
yes,
mouth for a few minutes, you really get that like intense, like you're scraping your tongue kind of feeling. And I don't get that with this, but I do taste a little bit of sweetness, and the bubbles remind me more of like an American Pilsner, like a macro brew.
macro brew. Yeah,
Like it
it's
has
a
those larger, very poppy bubbles that kind of dissipate very quickly once you take a sip. I just find it a very interesting sparkling water.
they so they've moved production. They were originally in the early days producing directly on site at the mountain spring um in Austria. Excuse me. And so it's mountain water from Austria, and they actually, I guess, they package it and they ship it to California, and now I guess their primary production facility, packaging facility, if you will, is in California.
Hmm.
But it is a different water because it is the to your point, the minerality is slightly adjusted, well, naturally adjusted, but it's not just like clean, completely reverse osmosis water that's then carbonated and thrown in a can.
Yeah, they're making adjustments to it. Yeah. Anyway, on to my next pairing. My wife's
Yes,
comment.
my
Next pairing.
wife,
My wife is
my wife.
Lagavulin. Man, Surgeon had the second edition of this a couple weeks ago when he was on the show, and it made me really crave it. This is my first time cracking it open since then. But I smoked. I full disclosure, I did smoke this cigar a couple weeks ago, and I was very surprised by how much I enjoyed it. And I just thought Scotch with this cigar.
Yeah, man.
Specifically, it reminds me of like a sherry aged Scotch. So I've got some of that coming up a little bit later. I didn't have any Lagavulin Distillers Edition, but I thought the kind of balanced nature of Lagavulin might work well with this. So Lagavulin, uh, it's a distillery on Isla that's been operating since 1816. Um, I'm not going to go too into the details here, but they're known for being a still peaty because they're on Isla, but more balanced version of Isla whiskey. They're kind of Lagavulin is generally kind of thought of as the adult of the three big Isla distilleries, because they've got kind of a more refined, less aggressive kind of palate for their whiskeys.
Yeah,
Um, this is the
generally.
this is the uh, yeah, there we go. This is the Offerman edition, which is an 11-year. So Nick Offerman. I mean, again, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, but I'll just go over it real quick. Uh, this was released in 2019 in a partnership with Nick Offerman because Nick Offerman, in his one of his most famous roles, probably his most famous as Ron Swanson on Parks and Rec, um, his character drank Lagavulin 16, which is kind of their core whiskey, and you would constantly see him, drinking a glass, carrying a bottle around, having it on his desk. Eventually, they started to kind of make it uh, uh, more of a story point, where some of the plot points would have Lagavulin involved, including spoiler alert, but one of the final season episodes, uh, he ends up using his savings to buy a 51% stake in the distillery. Uh, after a couple of cameos, I mean, not really cameos, but they there's a couple episodes where he ends up at the distillery in Scotland, um, and because of that, Ron Swanson, Nick Offerman ended up having a very close association with Lagavulin and just kind of being known as a Lagavulin guy. Um, and, in 2019, they decided to finally give him his own whiskey. And so they've done 3, I believe, now editions that were kind of blended to his palate, I guess you would call it. And this one, of course, being an 11-year, doesn't mean that it's all 11-year-old whiskey. It means that the minimum age of the whiskey in here is 11 years. There could be 30 or 40-year-old whiskey in here. Who knows? They can't legally tell us, as Serge and I ranted about a few weeks ago.
It's very sad. That seems to be the case more often than not.
Well, there's a whole legal thing where legally they're not allowed. They're allowed to tell you
Legally,
only the
yes,
lowest age that's in the bottle.
yeah,
If they tell you the average or any of the other ages, they're technically breaking Scottish law. And we talked about how Compass Box kind of gets around that by having literal offshore servers that will send you an email to let you
yeah.
know what's in their stuff, because they could get shut down by the Scottish government if they actually are telling people what's in their whiskey, which is ridiculous. Anyway, I get why they do it, but it's gotten silly now.
What a time to be alive.
Yeah. Anyway, this is a 46% ABV Scotch. You can see it just pours a nice. It looks a deeper reddish hue. It's kind of more of a dark straw in person. But I'm going to take a couple sips, see how it pairs, while you talk about your next pairing.
Love me some Lagavulin, man. Let me show you what I got for my next one. I'm gonna bring it home, close to home. Axe and Arrow Brewery in Glassboro, New Jersey, which is about 20 minutes from me, pretty close to me. And I'm having their it's their hard iced tea seltzer. I've never had this before. I just saw this today. It was like, hey man, I gotta pick this up.
That
Looks
is a
kind of cool.
crazy product.
It
Hard iced tea
first of all,
seltzer. Okay.
really cool can, by the way. Just have to point this out. Axe and Arrow has been around in Glassboro, which is a college town in Jersey, since 2019. And they are really well known for a couple of things. Their sour program, which we'll talk about for the next pairing, and their smoothie, kind of smoothie beer program, thick, heavy. I'm not talking like smoothie IPAs. I'm talking mixed, like smoothie stuff, right? Real juicy, real intense, not just hopped, but other things added in to really make it a proper smoothie, right? Like fruit and other things.
Adjuncts.
This one is, dare I say, adjuncts. I try not to say that word because for some reason lately it's gotten some kind of like
Yeah,
weird.
people hate that word now for some reason.
It's like a derogatory word now. So I've said, sitting around in like a brewery, drinking, local brewery like this, and around, you say the word adjunct, and people like turn their neck, like crane over to you, like, what?
I did notice.
Why is it forbidden?
I'm trying to remember where I saw it. It might have been somewhere on Reddit or Facebook or something like that. But somebody said, instead of macro beer or macro lager, they called it an adjunct lager, like what Budweiser
Oh,
makes,
fuck off. Fuck.
which I thought was weird.
They're not wrong.
I mean, yeah, it's got
Because
like
the use of
and
rice,
stuff like that. Yeah.
the amount of rice that's used, that they're not wrong, but it shouldn't be a bad word. And I feel like it's such a no where it's like a dirty word. Now you say it and people go like, no man, my shit's got all like natural fruit. Yeah, okay, but
That's
you
an
know what
adjunct.
adjunct means, right? You're adjuncting, whatever, however the anyway. They're known for that. Axe and Arrow is also, for those of you that visit, you may notice the themes. Very much Magic the Gathering. That is on purpose. When they first opened and when I started going there, I don't think they do it anymore, but they used to have, every beer had like a little card. So when you ordered a beer, you could look at the card and it was like a magic card, but for that beer.
That's awesome.
So it was really cool. So they just recently brought back their Magic Draft Nights. So you can
Nice.
go there and hang out and like do your draft, have some beers. Anyway, this thing is really wild because they took their base seltzer recipe, right? Their base seltzer, they added raspberry puree and they added black tea. That's it. And it's
Interesting.
awesome. It is. I don't like seltzers from any brewery. It's just not my thing. I think the fermentation adds a very odd flavor. There's just no way to escape it, right? Because you're fermenting sugar,
Yeah.
essentially. It's gonna have a particular taste to it that's different than a more complex sugar fermentation, like broken down wort or broken down, I should say, malts.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but I something about it is like really, it's exciting. I don't like seltzers, but I think the tea and the fruit in it, you can tell. Obviously, I think they definitely use some real fruit in it. It's really nice and it's going really well with the cigar.
How heavy is it on the black tea?
Uh, so the tannins from the tea are noticeable.
Okay.
That's what I like. So it's not just the sweetness, it's the sweetness plus the tannic part does come in a little bit. The
Man,
carbonation is throwing me off a little bit, but I think this would be awesome uncarbonated. Just the tea with the seltzer base, no carbonation would be perfect.
that's kind of what I was thinking when you first talked about that. Was like it's tea and juice, but why also have the carbonation? But I guess
Yeah.
people expect carbonation when they're drinking alcohol these days. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Uh-huh. Also, the
Th-
bubbles keep you from drinking too much too quick.
yeah, I think that's the difference to a lot of people between like a cocktail and a beverage, a beer,
Yeah.
or a seltzer is the bubbles, and maybe they just wanted to kind of keep it in that category. I guess I don't know. Makes me
And
wonder
maybe
why
it's a
we
legal
don't have
thing.
more. Oh, that might be true. Maybe it has to be. Oh, I'd never thought about that. I wonder if it has to be carbonated to sell it in grocery stores, kind of stuff. Um,
Yeah, and they do distribute pretty well, at least in South Jersey. They're everywhere that I've seen. And yeah, man, good for them. There's really small operation, but they are all over the place. They are really well known. They're doing a great job. So always happy to support buy their stuff. I haven't been there in a while.
nice. All right, so the Lagavulin, I think is working really well with this cigar. Like, I'm a little nervous about my next pairing, but
Oh,
the level of smoke
yeah.
on Lagavulin works really well because Lagavulin kind of has that slightly dialed back peat smoke for an Isla whiskey. Um, it's it's one of the big three, but it's definitely the least smoky and
What
most well balanced
we
out of the
talking
three.
ppm is probably like what 35, 30,
I think
35.
Lagavulin is closer to like 50-ish,
Is it
40-ish, somewhere
50?
around there.
Is Lefroy
Um,
10's around 45?
Lefroy 10, I think, is closer to 100.
Is it? Are you sure?
Yeah, if I remember correctly, Lefroy is like
Mm.
100, Ardbeg is like 75, and Lagavulin is like
Damn, now I
40 or
gotta
so.
check.
But I don't
ppm
remember.
40 to 50, Lefroy 10.
Okay, I was wrong.
Uh, but oh, that's odd. Lagavulin is okay. Yeah, so it is 30, 35 for the Lagavulin 16
Okay.
is what it's supposedly. I think Octomore is up in the like 80s or 100 or
Oh,
something like
Octomore
that.
is crazy. I have an Octomore that's like 260, I think,
Fuck,
230.
I need a bottle so bad. I'm like hankering for a bottle.
Come visit me. I'll get you a couple
Oh,
glasses of it. I can promise.
soon enough, man. Barn smoker, baby.
Yeah, let's do it. I'll get you some Octomore in you, and you can experience it. It was so that was when I'm trying to remember what the occasion was. I think it was the first time I got like a big promotion, and was making a what at the time seemed like a very reasonable amount of money. Um, Looking back, it was not a whole lot, but at the time it felt like a lot. And I went out and I bought my first $250 bottle of whiskey, which was Octomore 7.1, I think it was. Um,
Yeah, damn, dude.
and yeah, I believe it's 267 ppm, that bottle.
That's a lot. That's
It's very intense, but not as peaty as you expect that number to be. Um, and again, calling back to what Surgeon and I talked about on the episode that he was on, um, ppm only tells part of the story, really. It's kind of like
Absolutely.
ABV, where it's like sometimes a 40 ABV can drink very, very hot, and a uh, 50 or 60 ABV can be very clean and
Of
elegant
course.
and not have that aggressiveness. So it only tells part of the how it's actually going to taste. But anyway, this Lagavulin goes really well with the cigar. The sweetness, that kind of hard candy sweetness that Lagavulin has, um, that little bit of I don't even know what to call it, like earthiness.
There was
There's a
something
little
there
bit of
akin
earth.
to
Um, I just find Lagavulin is a very like it's much more full flavored and balanced than like the Ardbegs and the Lafroigs. It's much more rounded in flavor,
yeah.
but also at the same time like bigger in flavor. Um, like all of those volume levels are turned up a little bit, and in a well balanced way, but in a way that it's just got a ton of flavor. I don't even know how to
Yeah,
explain
that's
it.
what I was gonna say. Also, my experience, same thing. It's a lot rounder when you expect coming. If you just smell it, if you never had it before, you look at the ABV. You consider kind of how long it's sat. You expect it to be really like abrasive in your face, and it's
Yeah.
very different than that. It's really nice.
Yeah, it's got a ton of flavor, but it's very elegant for something that's as peaty as it is.
Yeah.
Because you really get that peat smoke, but it's not overpowering compared to the rest of the flavors, like some other distilleries. So my last pairing is Ardbeg
Oh
Ugdal.
boy,
This
goddamn.
I had to go something sherry finished, but the only thing I had finished in sherry is, at least that I have on hand right now, was this or a bourbon from Virginia that is finished in not only sherry barrels but four other types of barrels as well. So that's very complex, but you kind of lose some of that sherry. So this is a little heavier on the sherry, so I wanted to try it with this cigar. Ardbeg, I'm not going to get super into it again. I had a very busy day of not being home to do my notes. So Ardbeg was founded in 1815, the year before Lagavulin. Also on Isla, they're actually right next door to each other. Like there was a time where um, I didn't put it in my notes, but there was a time where Lagavulin was trying to buy Ardbeg, and then they tried to like steal the recipe, and there was a whole legal thing that happened over it. I'll get into that next time we talk about Ardbeg, but I didn't have time to put it in my notes for tonight. This is the Ardbeg Ugdal. Also, Ardbeg is known for their very aggressively peated whiskeys compared to the rest of Isla. I think as far as peatiness goes, Ardbegs are not necessarily the highest, but they're the most peat forward, um, because they're not balanced out with the same sweetness that Lagavulin and the Freuger are balancing um, their peat out with. Ugadal translates to dark, mysterious place. Um, I don't know why exactly they call it that, but what makes this bourbon, this whiskey, different from the Ardbeg 10 is that this is aged in not only ex bourbon barrels like Ardbeg 10, but also ex Oloroso sherry barrels. So there's kind of a mix there. I don't know what the mix is. It might be 50-50, might be 70-30, who knows. And also of note, I didn't know this, but it was voted by the Ardbeg committee. The Ardbeg committee is just kind of the Ardbeg fan club. That's their official fan club kind of thing.
It's pretty serious kind of deal. Yeah, man.
Yeah, they do have a lot of members. I think it's like
But
a few 100,000 or something like
you
that.
know, right? Kind of a big deal. Yeah,
Exactly, big deal.
big
Um,
deal.
But Ardbeg committee voted for their favorite whiskey out of the Ardbeg range, and it was Ugdal, which I think is pretty on point because Ugdal is amazing. This is once again 46%, I believe. No, 54.5%, 54.2 rather.
It is
So it's
the
got a little
name.
bit of extra heat.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I'll tell you after.
No, go ahead, go for it.
I was gonna say the name of Ugadal is the sound that one makes when you exhale after taking a sip.
Yeah, it's a very intense whiskey. I love it
Yeah,
though. And this bottle has like maybe 2 glasses left, so I'm gonna have to hunt down some more.
it's I love the I'm trying to think of, I guess probably the best way for me to put it is for my palate at least, is the way that it sits on the palate after the fact. It just lingers, man. I love the linger, and I love that I can sit there and, not take another sip for 5 minutes and really still kind of enjoy what it's all about. And that expression is still there to some extent as it starts to fall off of your palate. It's cool.
Yeah, it's got a very, very long finish. Um, and it has like, man, all of these layers of flavor. It starts with bitterness on the back of my tongue, and then the longer I wait after it, the more I really taste the smoke from the peat. Um, and then at the same time, there's like that really intense, jammy, kind of dark cherry kind of sweetness um, throughout in this whiskey on the palate. But it really is, it has a crazy long finish, which is working pretty well with this cigar so far. Tell us about your final pairing this evening.
I am I am at a loss for words. I was like, uh, let me introduce it first. We'll get into what I'm thinking. Man, it's getting a little sweaty here. All right. So Accent Arrow, sticking with Accent Arrow. This is, check out this really cool label, man. This is called Sour to the People. So this is a series that they do here, actually. This is their Sour to the People series that's been around for a super long time. This is the cranberry apple version.
If I remember correctly, there's at some point in the past you had sour to the people on the show.
Yeah, I think I had the strawberry banana fluff, probably
Wow.
Sour to the People. They had like a whole bunch of, this is a series they release regularly. This, some people in Jersey will argue that this is really kind of, that series really put them on the map in terms of doing something different, where a lot of breweries were producing really hazy stuff. They were doing milkshake IPAs, hazy pale ales, and all this crazy shit. And these guys were like, no, we're gonna do sour. We're gonna do a whole lot of sour. 30 sours. Right. And they set out on this journey to start making sour to the people. There is a little more backstory that I don't remember. There was a reason why they called it sour to the people beyond just the obvious, but I don't know. 7.5% for this one, Imperial Ale. It's it looks great, but it just doesn't taste like anything other than fizzy apple juice, which is not
Really?
bad. Don't get me wrong, it's not bad. But there's something, I think, coming from the seltzer, from the tea, that's really sweet and really full of flavor, coming to this. Maybe I should have swapped the pairings around a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still good. But again, to each their own. I think it's a little thin, certainly thin for this cigar. There isn't a whole lot to hold it in, and sours, of course, can be that way. Once in a while, you get a great sour like a Flanders, that's like a semi sour, or a Cuvée, that you can stick to a cigar pretty well.
Yeah. A sour is a very hard style to expect something from. Do you know what I mean? Like when you go into a sour, you typically don't know whether you're getting that like light fizzy, a little bit sour, like a seltzer with a squeeze of lemon kind of sour,
Yeah,
or whether you're going for that like your lips pucker out your asshole kind of sour, which we've both had both. Um, those like those crazy intense sours that are like overpoweringly sour, um, like challenge level sour.
yeah, we've
Um,
had a couple, and
but you don't like. There's no indication of what style it's gonna be before you drink it. Like you just have to kind of hope that it's gonna be what you're hoping for.
usually, yes. And I think where you see the difference coming in is if you have a brewery that really does focus on sours and has a sour program and has a barrel program for their sours, like oh, I can't remember. Paradox? Is it? Nope, I think that was the name of the beer. Maybe it's Paradox Brew. Anyway, it's up north in upstate New York. But their sour program is really cool. And some of them have foeders. And when you take a sour and you let it sit in a foeder for a while, you get that funk, you get the wood quality,
Yeah.
you get that body that most sours are missing
Yeah,
on their
I
own.
was thinking in the same vein of Cascade Brewing in
Oh yeah,
Portland. Their sours are not typically like puckering kind of sour. They're more kind of that Belgian, a little bit of sourness, a little bit of funk, more than like that lemon juice kind of sourness, which I really like. It's more about the complexity that you can add with sourness than it is about just making a sour beer.
agreed. Yeah, wholeheartedly agreed. There has to be something more to it.
Um, Man, the Oodle is going fantastic with this cigar. It's a little strong. It kind of covers up the spicier notes of the cigar, um, but at the same time, it surprisingly brings out like a ton of sweetness in the cigar. I'm finding the cigar tastes a lot sweeter than it did before. Um, but the pairing is working really well. I don't know how I'm going to pick up my best pairing of the night because the Ardbeg has like that jammy sweetness to it. The Lagavulin has that like perfect balance in a whiskey, and then uh, my mezcal has like that enough whiskey influence, but then with that like sour, smoky bite of a mezcal. And all of them are working really well with the cigar. So I'm gonna keep rotating through as we chat here.
Yeah, I'm going back through mine as well. Certainly an odd combination of things.
Um,
I don't know, this tea keeps pulling me back. I every I've been disappointed with every single seltzer I've ever had from any brewery anywhere, but especially New Jersey. And for some reason, this one just really doing it.
nice, I love it. Sorry,
Man, she
just
don't want to smoke no more, eh?
oh no, really?
I'm
Yours is
massaging.
going out.
I'm going for the happy ending on this one.
All right,
Slow, just little slow little tippy taps on the side there.
just a little tap tap taparoo.
I'm glad you got the reference. Happy Gilmore 2 coming out soon.
Is it? Is that
Soonish.
real?
It's in production or pre-production, yeah. Shooter McGavin was cited leaking the information about the film because he was so happy to be in it.
Nice.
I forget his actual name, but he played Shooter McGavin in the film.
I'll never know that man's real name. For me, he's always Shooter McGavin.
That other guy died recently.
Oh, Carl Weathers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, not Carl. Yes, Carl Weathers is dead.
he did die recently.
He did. No, the other guy died recently. You want to go to Sizzler? Jackass.
Oh,
That guy died.
uh,
The Jackass guy died.
I'm trying to remember
Forget
his
his
name.
name.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm gonna Google it now.
But Carl Weathers was the guy with one hand, right? In
Yeah,
Happy Gilmore. Okay.
Joe Flaherty,
Ah, yeah, Joe Flaherty.
Jackass.
Sam Fiddle says Bob Barker.
He's not wrong.
Yeah, you're not wrong, but it wasn't exactly recently.
Man, half those cats are dead. Jeez.
Is there a curse on Happy Gilmore that we're just finding out about?
Yeah, it's called being old. You know how that movie came out like 30 some years ago?
Yeah, I know. It's been a while. Man, I'm trying to decide on my pairing of the night here. I think I'm gonna go Lagavulin. Lagavulin just has like the right amount of intensity that works really well with this cigar. Um, the Ardbeg, going back to it, I think it's just a little too hot for the cigar. A little too much heat on that pepperoni. I
You
don't know
really
what to call
you had to pinch that one off too. I feel
it.
like you were just
Yeah,
like really squeezing
I
it.
got lost in the sauce on that one.
No, that's
Um,
fine. I think it does make sense. As weird as it is, it makes sense.
the Ardbeg just has like that alcohol bite from it, especially going back to the Lagavulin and then back to the Ardbeg. That alcohol bite is really noticeable and is really the downfall of that pairing, um, and that's why the Lagavulin gets the edge. What are your thoughts on this cigar so far? You love it? Hate it?
You know, I didn't no, I don't say like. I didn't love the first third. The initial ramp up as the cigar heated up, I didn't quite like it as much. I started to really now I'm starting to really like it, and it's struggling to burn, man. I like little massages.
That's a big bummer.
And it
Um,
happens. And listen, completely happens. Where I was sitting in my humidor, it was a bit spicy in there. Yeah, to your point, spicy pepperonis. It was probably like 75 on the pepperoni scale. Humidity.
yeah, that
So
could be part of the problem. You may want to dry box next week, um, which I have chosen a cigar for next week. We need to do a every once in a while we're going to be doing an episode where we feature a Casa de Monte Cristo exclusive. This was almost a Casa de Monte Cristo exclusive at one point, but that would have been only for one Casa de Monte Cristo. So next week we'll be smoking the Rocky Patel ALR aged limited rare. It's a Mexican San Andreas wrapped Rocky Patel
yeah, man.
Robusto.
I'm excited.
I have smoked one of those. That's a very good cigar. Um, I think, if I remember correctly, one of the original release sizes of that was on the top 25 for Cigar Aficionado, and for a couple of other people. Um, I think that's going to be make for some very good pairing. So check that out next week. Um, any other thoughts before we hit our one for the road segment?
I'm gonna have to smoke another one. And maybe dry box it this time.
Did I
Yeah,
send you two of these?
just giving it.
I don't remember.
No, I don't
Okay,
remember, but I can find some.
I'm sure you can. It's around. It's a core release. It's $13, and this to me this smokes like a $15 to $18 cigar. Like like I've said a few times, it reminds me a lot of the H99, just in kind of the style of flavor that it's giving. It's a very different
Yes.
cigar in
Yeah.
terms of build, but the style of the cigar reminds me a lot of that, but dialed back on the strength, which I think is perfect for a lot of people.
The citrus on the aroma also, it's almost like it's a expressed peel level of citrus, which is really
Mm,
nice.
good call. Very true. All right, and that brings us to one for the road. Dennis, you want me to go first this week? I've got one
Yeah, man.
right on the tip of my tongue. All right, so I
Right on the
watched.
pipe, huh?
This is gonna be a movie from A24, directed by I can't remember the lady's name, Rose something. Let me find it here.
Rose McGowan.
Rose Glass,
Oh,
not Rose
okay.
McGowan. It's called Love Lies Bleeding. It stars Kristen Stewart and Katie O'Brien, and it's basically about a girl who works at a gym. She meets this girl who's traveling. She's a vagrant, and she just kind of is making her way west from Oklahoma to try to go to this bodybuilding competition in uh, Las Vegas. The two fall in love and have like this up and down love story kind of thing going on, and all of a sudden, real bad stuff starts happening, and people get killed, and it is just a uh, it gets very wild. This movie. It's very if you're into A24 movies, it's very A24. Um, it it seems like it's going to be kind of a romance movie, but then it suddenly turns into like a sort of a crime thriller, with being on the run and accidental murders and stuff like that. Uh, it's very good. I really enjoyed this movie. I highly recommend you check it out. It's streaming now on the Amazons and the Apple TVs and stuff like that for $20. But once it hits Netflix or whatever, eventually, highly recommend checking it out. If you can't wait, go ahead and pay the $20 and watch it because it's real good. Watch the
That
trailer.
sounds cool, man.
It's really good. Lots of murder. What about you? What's your pick of the week for the one?
I I was gonna go with a film, and I thought at this point I keep pumping Tango and Cash so much that I can't do it anymore. I cannot do it. I have been told that I do it too much.
You
People are
talk about
upset
Tango and Cash too much?
all the time. The soundtrack is great. If you don't, I don't. So anyway, I'm not gonna get into it now. Don't get me excited.
Do you remember there was I'm trying to remember the name of the game. There was a Tango and Cash knockoff video game in the 90s.
There was a Super Nintendo game.
Well, no, this was an arcade game and it had a steering wheel and two
What?
guns. And so one guy
Oh,
would
Lucky and
drive
Wild.
Lucky and Wild, that's the one. It was a Tango and Cash
Wow.
ripoff. And one guy
1993.
would drive and shoot, and the other guy would just shoot, and it was like one of those gun games, but you also had to drive a car at the same time.
Oh my God, they
God,
look just like him.
I spent many dollars on that game.
They
Sorry,
look just they looks just like them too. It's amazing.
it's a straight Japanese knockoff. Sorry, I didn't mean to sidetrack your one for the road, but go ahead with
That's my favorite Japanese knockoff. Just a quick thing, Sharp Hand Joe. Sharp Hand Joe is Japanese Freddy Krueger.
Oh, I thought it was going to be Japanese Edward Scissorhands.
No. That's also very cute. But no, Sharp Hand Joe is excellent. It was like a real thing. There's a cartoon. There was a comic. There was merch. I have some merch, which is great. Anyway, what was my thing?
It had something to do with
Rockabilly, dirty old American rockabilly, new rockabilly, not old to I guess classify the tattooed punk rockabilly, not the like wearing your jeans up to your chest.
not Brian
rockabilly.
Setzer rockabilly.
Yeah, well, even that's like Brian Setzer is in
He's
between.
halfway in between, yeah.
Yeah. So this is Hillbilly Casino.
I've never heard of this.
Fantastic, just really fun band. They're playing in Philly in July 11th. 7-Eleven, baby. They're playing in Philly with Sasquatch. I forget. Sasquatch and the Hillbillies or something like that. There's a Sasquatch band with like a pompadour. Sasquatch's pompadour is great. Anyway, Hillbilly Casino. Check them out. They've been around, I think, for probably 10 years, maybe a little more. But definitely fun if you're into that kind of music.
That sounds fantastic. All right, we're wrapping it up in under an hour here. Like this was a weirdly short show. I guess that 10 minutes of me imploding while we were not quite live helped out with that. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you everybody for watching and listening. We appreciate you guys out there leaving reviews, liking, and subscribing, and doing all those dumb things that people constantly ask you to do, and we don't. But we appreciate you doing it anyway, even though we don't ask you to. Yeah, we'll catch you on the next one where we're smoking the Rocky Patel ALR. Hope you hang out for it. I'll get the post up. Actually, I'm a liar. We are smoking the ALR the week after next because I forgot. I had the dates wrong in my, or I had the today's date wrong in my head. I was thinking next week was not the 12th. Next week we have a very special guest.
Oh, we do. I forgot about this.
I can't believe that we both
Excited.
spaced on it during the show. Man,
Oh.
Showtime really messes with my head. We have Rob Dietrich of Black and Whiskey. He's going to be joining us, hanging out, smoking a cigar, doing some pairing. We're going to be doing our interview format where we just kind of bring something to pair. We're going to be, of course, smoking the Black and M81, or sorry, the M80.
82.
What is it? S84.
Is it 82?
S84. That's the one.
Shade
to Black.
Yeah, the shade to black.
So we'll see you next week for that one. The week after, we'll be smoking the ALR from Rocky Patel. Man, I hyped that up, and I wasn't thinking that we had a guest next week. So we'll see you next week for a guesty show. which we don't do
I
too
like a
often.
guesty show.
But this is a big deal. So we're excited to have Rob on the show. So we'll talk to you guys next week for Rob Dietrich. Everybody, thank you for hanging out with us. We appreciate you guys. Dennis, hit him with that little catchphrase thing we like to say.
Remember, everybody, we want you to drink better, but we want you to drink less. Cheers.